Yeah, praise God. Amen. So good. Live in our story. We gotta work something out. We gotta do something out.
It was doing background. The prayer was.
No. I ain't trying to fight you.
Okay.
Sure ain't trying to fight you. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom, everybody that is here today. Shabbat Shalom to any who might be watching on YouTube or live stream or what we got going back there. As we always say, peace to the 12 tribes of Israel that were scattered abroad. Peace, shalom to you, blessings to you. As Shaul says to Yahudi, first and then to the nations. So when we give the word of Yah, we don't leave anybody out. Okay? The word is for everybody. That it is the word that heals. It is the word that reveals. It is the word that restores. So the word is for all of mankind. And we are just his vessels being used to get the word out to those who are in need, giving them their meat in due season. So as we always say, last but not least, to the poor, the brokenhearted, to the lost, to the confused, this word is for you. Got to make it more simple. To the crackhead, to the people that sniffing cocaine up their nose, to the trailer park trashes on meth, to the uncle that's still alcoholic, this word is for you. To our young women, can't get their legs closed, this word is for you. To the young men that's incarcerated, only know one way to go get it. I'm a hustler, go get it. I got the heat. This word is for you. We don't leave anybody out. To the homosexual out there, this word is for you. You ain't got to live that way. This word is for everybody. If you want it. Bottom line. I learned a long time. I was in Sunday when I learned this, that the Lord is a gentleman. He ain't gonna force nothing on. He ain't gonna force nothing on. So if you don't want it, don't worry about it. Anyway, so introduction and salutations. We're gonna get started on this blessed Shabbat day today. Our topic, the mystery in Torah, the hidden Melech. The mystery in Torah, the hidden Melech. Some of us know what Melech means. That means what? King. We're going to talk about things that are hidden within the Torah that is exposing or should be leading us, guiding us towards the King. And we are celebrating this Shabbaton, the Shabbaton of the Torah, waiting. We kind of know those little small gathering last night, just want to speak his language. He speaks a certain language. We got to speak his language. You know, for whatever reason, there's comfort when you and somebody speak the same language. It just opens up makes the relationship a little bit better. You know, you ain't seen somebody in a long time, but y'all speak the same language, and it kind of helps you speed up the process. But what it's going to be like when Yahshua comes? Been a long time since his feet been on this earth. So the relationship between him and mankind is a huge gap. So those of us who are waiting for him, we got to be able to speak how he speaks. It helps the relationship process. So the mystery in Torah, the hidden Melech. Get my readers. We're going to start off, Romans 15, 3 through 4. Let me get John 6, 44 through 45. You know, it ain't a part of the message, it's always a part of the message. Okay? Word fit anywhere. Go ahead, brother.
For even the Messiah did not please himself, but as it has been written, the reproaches of those who reproached you fell upon me. For whatever was written for our instruction, that through endurance and encouragement of the scriptures, we might have the expectation.
We might have a what?
The
We
expectation.
might have we might have that hope now. Got something to look forward to. It's already been written for us. We just got to be obedient. We have to believe. Go ahead, brother.
John 6:44-45. No man can come to me except the Father which has sent me draw him.
He do what?
He draws him.
Mm.
And I will raise him up at the last day.
Mm.
It is written in the prophets.
It's written in the what?
In the prophets. And they shall be all taught of Elohim. Every man, therefore, that hath heard and hath learned of the Father cometh unto me.
Now let me get Acts 24, 14 and 15, and brother, let me get John 4, 23 through 24.
And this I confess to you, that according to the way which they call a sect,
According to the what?
the way which they call a sect, so I worship the Elohim of my fathers, believing all that has been written in the Torah and in the prophets.
In the what?
In the Torah and in the prophets.
One more time.
In the Torah and in the prophets.
Amen.
Having an expectation in Elohim, which they themselves also wait for, that there is to be a resurrection of the dead, both of the righteous and the unrighteous.
Everybody he said they have an expectation too for what's written in the Torah and in the prophets. So everybody got expectations on. Go ahead, brother.
John chapter 4, verse 23-24. But the hour cometh, and now is when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth.
In what?
In spirit and in truth.
It just didn't say one. It didn't give me that wasn't multiple choice, was it? That wasn't no true or false, was it? Go ahead.
For the Father seeks such to worship him.
Who's seeking it?
The Father.
So the source. So what the source is looking for? This is what the source is looking for. He wants to know who is willing to speak how I speak. Who's willing to be on my level? And all you gotta do is worship me in
Spirit and in truth.
Go ahead, keep reading, brother.
Elohim is a spirit.
And
they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Jim. Let's turn to Luke 12. Luke 12. I think I did myself find this little picture. That's something my wife created. She said, well, she said, where did you learn how to lay? I did. I just said copy. I just said copy and paste. All right, Luke 12 and 2, and it reads, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. There's nothing covered that shall not be revealed, nothing hid that shall not be known. So things that are covered, things that might be hidden, at some point will be revealed. Okay? All right, there's nothing that will not come out, but we can have an understanding. Okay? So on the screen, Proverbs 25 and 2. We talked about this some weeks ago. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter. So it is the glory of Elohim to conceal something. And then it's the glory of the kings to search out a matter. Right? And it's been put in your head about ruling and reigning with Christ. Ruling and reigning with Christ. Ruling and reigning with Christ. Okay, that's great. But the glory of the kings is to search out the matter. Now, we talked about this at the end, this little semicolon, or before it, whatever there, we have the word debar. Okay? To conceal a thing, debar. But what else does debar mean? Debar means what?
To speak. To speak.
Who said that?
Just
Word, speak, correct. Yes. Yes, word, debar, word. And debar also means thing. It can just be thing. So debar is mentioned twice. So it's Proverbs 25 and 2, It is the glory of God to conceal the debar, but the glory of kings to search out the debar. So to search out the word, or to search out the thing, to search out what has been spoken. Okay? But debar can also be thing, like something. Okay? Deuteronomy 29. Read that, and we realize most I want to play some peekaboo with us. So hide and go seek. Now find something. Deuteronomy 29 and 29. Deuteronomy 29 and 29, and it reads, the secret things belong unto the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this Torah. The secret things belong unto the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. So there are secret things, okay, that belong unto Yahuwah Elohim. But those things which are revealed belong unto us, to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this Torah. So within the Torah, there are secret things. Okay? We just looked at the thing, it can just be a debar. It can be a word, or the word that was spoken, or just a thing. There's a secret, and it's hidden within the Torah. On the screen for you, we got Leviticus 23, 24 to 25, speaking to the children of Israel, saying the seventh month and the first day of the month shall be a solemn rest unto you, a memorial proclaimed with the blast of horns, a holy convocation. Then verse 24, you shall do no manner of servile work. You shall bring an offering made by fire unto Yah. So in regards to this day, not a lot of instructions, right? It's I have highlighted where it says solemn rest, and this is from the Tanakh. So translation will be a little bit different than whatever Bible you got. But solemn rest, okay, is your Shabbaton, right? Your Shabbaton. And then in the other highlight, memorial is your Zikron. Okay, so you are remembering to remember to rest, to separate, to set apart something. And in this, you are to teruah, okay? Teruah, you are to make a noise. You're proclaiming something. What are you proclaiming today? Torah don't tell you. You know why I don't tell you? It's a secret thing. It's the glory of God to conceal a thing. To conceal a debar, a word that was spoken. But the glory of kings is to search it out. So Leviticus 23, 24, 20, 23 and 24, or 2:24. It should be 24 and 25. All right. Okay, so we got to take a closer look at the wisdom that is given. Okay, a closer look at the wisdom that's given. All right, keep therefore and do them, for this is your what? Wisdom. And what? Your understanding. In who? The sight of the nations. Which ye shall hear all these statutes. Right? Statute is not a mitzvah, it's not a commandment. Right? Statute is not the Torah. Right? A statute or scenarios where Yah has had to interject something. He had to interject something. Right? I know in our Hebrew community, some make fringes the end-all be-all. So that's a statute. That's a statute. Something that was interjected because of your bad behavior. It was because of bad behavior. You hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise, understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who have God so nigh to them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? Okay. Deuteronomy 4, 6 through 7. So we have to understand, we talk about a lot during this time of year, a time within a time. Okay, we're in the 7th month. Okay, we're in the 7th month. Brother, let me get Exodus 34 and 22. Exodus 34 and 22. My mother read that.
Exodus 34 and 22.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks,
Uh-huh.
of the first fruit of wheat harvest, and the feast of intergathering at the year's end.
At the year's what?
End.
Year's what?
End.
Year's what?
End.
So at the end of the year. Well, I got a question. When is the Feast of Ingathering? What month is that?
7 months.
But typically on the, yearly cycle, you have how many months? What did the end part say again?
And the feast of ingathering at the year's end.
End. I got some kids. Look, I got some kids that can count like this. I'm like, man, what's 7 times 5? Well, you used to get laughed at back in the day. You count on your fingers. But I guess it's time to change, man. Anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So according to the Torah, that's the year's end. I got 8th month, 9th month, 10th month, 11th month, 12th month, then boom, Nisan. Let me get Deuteronomy 11 through 12. Somebody tell that brother he on the clock.
Deuteronomy 11 through 12.
Uh-huh,
But the land, whither ye go to possess it,
uh-huh.
is a land of hills and valleys,
Mm.
and drinketh water of the rain of heaven.
Mm.
And land which Yahuwah thy Elohim careth for.
Mm.
The eyes of Yahuwah thy Elohim are always upon it, from the beginning of the year even unto the end of the year.
From the beginning of what?
The year
To the what?
to the end of the year.
So clearly, when Yah's describing the end of the year, it's probably different than how we think of the year, the end of the year, clearly. So time within a time. So the spring is the beginning of a numerical count, okay? Or the beginning of a harvest cycle, right? They came out of Egypt, this is what? First of months for you, okay? Right, so we have something that begins that is ceremonial because we have this first month, and what takes part in that first month? After what day? 14th day, right? And then we have our first day of unleavened bread, right? And then a little bit later we'll have our Shavuot. So a number is started, but it's a number of counting harvest cycles, ceremonies, right? You will remember. This is a memorial. You will do. Mashiach, specific accomplishments on the Moed or the times. We have Passover, right? Done. Unleavened bread, done. First fruits, right? Because he's called by Yochanan with the first, by Shaul, the first fruits of the dead. Done. Shavuot, Pentecost, Feast of Weeks. Done. Let me say it, Father. It is finished. I know when we come from Sunday world, see, that law done away with. Not exactly. Just proving what was written. What for everything written aforetime was written from my learning. Fall feast, the 7th month on a numerical count. It's the end of the year. That's the last of the harvest cycle. It becomes the end of the year, even though I got more months after. But he called it the end of the year. So the end of the ceremonies, end of harvesting, bringing in your wheat, bringing in your barley, bringing in your grapes, your figs, bringing that stuff, that's the end. Okay? All right? Fulfilled yet? Yom Teruah today. Memorial of shofars and shouting. For who? For what? The Yom Kippur, the atonement. Israel's sins are covered. Sins are placed on the goat. Sukkot, tabernacles, ingathering, last harvest of the year, going into something new. Millennial reign was a high day. There's the 8th day, is the last day, the last great day. We're still waiting. We don't really know. We just have to be there. Yeshua said something to his students as in his resurrected body. He was with them for how many days? He was teaching for how many days?
40, 50.
40 days. He was teaching them about things pertaining. Acts 1. I said, look, man, I'm on my lunch break. I'm on my lunch break. As soon as I get done, I got you.
Double tax.
That's right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's go. Acts. Start at 3. Let's see what 3 says.
Acts chapter 1, verse 3.
Uh-huh.
To whom also he showed himself alive
Mm-hmm.
after his passion
Mm-hmm.
by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days.
How many days?
40 days. And speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of Elohim.
Speaking of things as what?
Pertaining to the kingdom of Elohim.
Go ahead.
And being assembled together with them, commanded them that they should not depart from Jerusalem, but wait for the promise of the Father.
Stop right there. So that's something that we got to learn right there. That they're on their count, right? Count 50 to get the Shavuot. 40 days in, he's teaching them, schooling them. Now, it's not the point for today, but this shows the humanity, how much of humans we are. You got Yahshua resurrected, the glorified body, eating with them, teaching them, giving them some, off the wall, deep stuff. It's like, hey, I hear all this stuff you say about the kingdom of Elohim, but you want to turn, the nation back to Israel? It's like, man, that's the least thing you need to worry about. So he told them not to leave from Jerusalem and wait for the promise. So if he told them not to leave, to be there in the city on that day, do not leave. Be here, stay here. Like Craig said, hey, come back, we'll stay right here. So stay right here, don't go nowhere else. Shouldn't we have that same energy when it comes to Yom Teruah, Atonement, and Sukkot? We got to wait for the promise of the Father. Because the Father is seeking those who worship Him in what? In truth. So He said, hey, don't y'all leave the city until. So we find ourselves here today. Memorial of blowing and shouting. For what? We don't know yet. We went on the promise of the Father. Okay, so we look at some non-biblical references to ancient, about ancient Israelites' view of time. Okay, now I wish Chris was here. She's gonna try to check me about my work cited yesterday. I got it today, right? I know that much. She's like, yeah, you did it, but you didn't cite the cover though. Like anyway. So among the Yehudim, too, it was custom in very early times to begin the year in autumn. A custom older probably than that, starting with the spring. Stop right there. So when did they start with the spring? Well, we got in Exodus. So something that was a tradition very old, predated them coming out of Mitzrayim. Among the Yehudim, too, was a custom in very early time to begin the year in autumn, a custom older probably than that of starting with the spring. Okay, I got the work cited there for you. We'll check it out. I got another resource here. Okay, okay, Hebrewism of West Africa, stripping to the waist, this is obviously old folks writing, so I mean, it's not my spell. Stripping to the waist as a sign of respect, bondage find among the Abyssinians. Who are the Abyssinians? Another name for who? Ethiopians. The Ethiopians. And Ashanti. Some of you should be familiar with the Ashanti from West Africa. Okay? So, finds among the Abyssinians and Ashanti alike, and both nations begin this year at about the same time in the autumn. So people who claim Israelite heritage through West African migration and transatlantic slave trade, the people that lived there, they looked at time different. So they looked at the autumn as the beginning of something, like a clock. Once again, time within a time. So what we have is that we'll have a ceremonial count. Passover, unleavened bread, Feast of Weeks. When we get to the autumn, we start a civil count. No, like civil law. Authority, kingship. There's a king's reign. You know, Hezekiah reigned 40-something years, or David reigned 40-some years. Does that count the same as the right there in Passover, or is it at two different times? When is the king established? When is the king established? When do the king's count start? We know what goes on. We know what goes on here. A lot of ceremonial stuff, harvesting, right, an agrarian culture. But at some point, he knew that there was going to be civil. Isaiah 9. Start at 4. See before 4 look like too.
For you shall break the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian.
Mm-hmm.
For every boot of one trampling in tumult, and colt rolled in blood, shall be used for burning and fuel of fire.
Mm-hmm.
For a child is born unto us,
Uh-huh.
a son is given unto us, and the rule is on his shoulder.
The what?
The rule is on his shoulder.
One more time.
The rule is on his
Go
shoulder.
ahead.
And his name is called Wonder Counselor, Strong El, Father of Continuity, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his rule and
Increase
peace,
of his what?
of the increase of his rule and peace, there is no end upon the throne of David and over his reign.
Stop right there. Excellent. Thank you, brother. So, I wonder, when does that count start? Because, you know, he just said, hey, y'all folks scream and shout and make a lot of noise. It was kind of like when we have, our custom, you have a president, like an Obama or Trump or Bush or Clinton, and people go to the inauguration, and you won't believe this, they make a lot of noise. They're excited. They're fired up about their new ruler. And you won't believe this, that your teacher, your creator said, you know what? On the first day of the 7th month, make a lot of racket. Just make a lot of noise. For what? For who? Don't worry about it. Just obey. Trust me. Have faith. So we find ourselves in this, if you need notes, I'll go back for you. In this 7th month, okay, a door's being opened. Right? Something's being established. And we're on the other end of the spectrum. Like, we don't really know. Kind of like when Yahshua walked on the earth. Some of them just didn't know. They didn't know. Some of them was like, you're somebody. Some say you're a prophet. Some say you're this. Right? We had Cain say, well, you the son of Elohim. So when we get to this time, the 7th month, we're entering into a door. What's on the other side? Don't know. You know why we don't know? Because it ain't been fulfilled. He just said make a lot of racket. Make a lot of racket. So we can assume, we can make assumptions. I wonder if that's when the king comes. So Yochanan 19, I got on the screen for y'all. But they cried out, away with him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, shall I crucify your king? The chief priest answered, we have no king but Caesar. We have no king but Caesar. We have no king but Caesar. Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified, and they took Yahshua and led him away, and he bearing the cross went forth into a place called the place of the skull, which is in Hebrew called Golgotha, where they crucified him, and 2 other with him on either side, and Yahshua in the midst. And Pilate wrote a title, and put it on the cross. And the writing was Yahshua of Nazareth, the Melech of the Yehudim. This title then read many of the Yehudi, for the place where Yahshua was crucified was nigh to the city. And it was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. So at that point in time, everybody could read that. If your Hebrew wasn't up to par, you probably know your Greek. Okay? Your old school, you in that Latin. Wherever you at. But everybody should be able to see the title over his name, over his head. Then said the chief priest of the Yehudim to Pilate, very important right here, write not the king of the Yehudi, but that he said, I am king of the Yehudi. Look what Pilate said. What I have written, I have written. So we have somebody who was given title by the authority. The authority. Because if Pilate was not the authority, they just would have changed the sign and so on and so forth. So the authority put over his dying body the king. And it can't be changed. You know, like when somebody, you got a family member that passed, and they got a tombstone, you know, and that stuff getting ingrained in the tombstone, you can't go change that, man. So on his tombstone, it was put the king. On his tombstone, the king. Matthew 27. Brother, give me Matthew 27 through 29. Your mother, brother, give me Luke 23 and 34 through 46.
23, 27 through 29.
You're 27.
27.
Yeah.
27 what?
27 through 29.
No, 27 through 29.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We got Luke 23, 34 through 46. You're so sweet. Y'all ain't got stuff for me. Make sure I get some of that. You keep the spinach. Make sure I get some.
Then the soldiers of the governor took Yeshua into the court and gathered the entire company of soldiers around him. And having stripped him, they put a scarlet robe on him, and plaiting a crown of thorns.
They did what?
And plaiting a crown of thorns.
A crown of what?
Thorns.
Was it a crown?
Yes.
A crown. Go ahead.
They put it on his head.
On his what?
On his head.
Because crowns go on king's heads. Crowns go on king's heads. Go ahead, bro.
And a reed in his right hand.
Mm-hmm.
And they kneeled down before him and mocked him, saying, Greetings, sovereign of the Yehudim. And spitting on him, they took the reed and struck him on the head.
They said, what now?
They took the reed and struck him on the head.
And they said, greeting, like what you said, greeting too.
Greetings, sovereign of the Yehudim.
So, right before death, we have a scenario, because you know, y'all do stuff where people will like fill out the word form. Like like sometimes we will execute Yah's word like by our actions. So we have Yahshua, who for the most part ain't been saying too much of nothing. Right? He's been keeping his peace. He ain't said too much of nothing. And now we have soldiers mocking him, but they put a crown on his head. So we have a title at his tombstone, same tombstones we understand. We got his tombstone saying king. We got a crown on his head, and they're bowing before him. You don't believe this, but in your text it says that every knee shall and every tongue shall. So see, y'all do stuff where I give you what you want. We're gonna, you're gonna have a little fun, you're gonna mock, you're gonna joke, but there will be a day when he is reintroduced into planet Earth. Like that was his exit from Earth as the king. That was his exit as the king. So he has to be reintroduced as the king. He exited as a king. Now what's really gonna mess us up is that, and it's not part of today, but the high priest Caiaphas, what did he do again? He got so mad, he did what he, is that in your law? That a priest is not supposed to uncover his or rend his, so then he lost his priesthood. So I wonder who took it. So the Melech Zadik, the king of righteousness, so he's, just earned the priesthood, and he's just been given a cheap crown. He just earned the priesthood. He just got a cheap crown. And then he exits Earth. He dies, he exits Earth. So when he returns, this makes sense why he's going to have all power. Because as biblical Hebrews talks about, Judah and Levi are two different tribes. But there's only one who can be like a extension of both. To be a high priest and to be a king. Warrior king at that. But that's not for today. Okay. Now, brother, go ahead and pick up in 37, same chapter. 37 through 42. Same chapter, 37 through 42.
And they put over his head the written charge against him. This is Yeshua, the sovereign of the Yehudim. Then two robbers were impaled with him, one on the right and another on the left. And those passing by were blaspheming him, shaking their heads, and saying, You who destroy the dwelling place and build it up in 3 days, save yourself.
Do what?
You who destroy the dwelling place and build it up in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the son of Elohim, come down from the stake.
Now come down, what?
Come down from the stake.
So they're saying, if you are who you say you are, you got to come down. If you are who you say you are, you have to come down.
Okay.
If you are who you say you are, you have to come down. So see, we see these scenarios where they're making fun of him and they're giving him this proper title as king. If you are the, B'nai Elohim, then you have to come down. We kind of talked about a little small deal last night about, the Lord comes down from the Shaman and he shouts. Go ahead and finish that up, brother. Psalm 42.
And likewise, the chief priests with the scribes and elders mocking said, He saved others, he is unable to save himself. If he is the sovereign of Israel, let him now come down from the stake, and we shall believe him.
And we'll do what?
And we shall believe him.
So if he comes down, we'll believe. If he comes down, we'll believe. You don't believe this, but every knee will and every tongue will, because he's going to come down. It's just not at that time. Just not at that time. But there'll be a time. Just not that time. Brother, go ahead and read Luke 23, 34 through 46.
Luke 23, 34 to 46 reads, Then said Yahushua, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Stop right there. You know why he says that? Because he understands that the next time he comes back to this planet, it's going to be some problems. That they ain't going to be ready. What's that that song, that intro? So no, allow me to introduce myself. That's how he gonna be when he come back. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the son. He gonna come back, and he truly is the epitome of love. He's like, man, they don't even know what they're doing. But they have no clue what they're doing. You know why? Because he's hidden. The kingship is hidden. You seen that show where the boss, the undercover boss, and this man done, you know, you working at a company and he come in there, dressed up like you're regular Joe, and saying, man, I hate the boss, man. He's trifling. I know he's doing this, he's doing that, and then all of a sudden, but the show over, he done took off his, and they're the boss. So Yahshua is the king, but he's hidden. Now, it's been concealed, but it was concealed in the word. So those who knew the word, Nicodemus, Joseph of Arimathea, others who was like, they study the word, it's like, man, gotta be him. I know that's him. Creeping to him at nighttime. Because that's him. But he was hidden. He was hidden. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Keep on going.
And they parted his remnant and cast lots. And the people stood beholding. And the rulers also with them revered him, saying, He saves others, let him save himself, if he be Hamashiach, the chosen of Elohim. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him, and offering him vinegar, and saying, If thou be the king of Yahudim, save thyself. And the superscription was also written over him in letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew. This is the king of the Yahudim. And one of the malefactors which were hung railed on him, saying, If thou be Hamashiach, save thyself and us. But the other answered, rebuking him, saying, Doest thou not fear Elohim, seeing thou art in the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds.
Right.
But this man has done nothing amiss. And he said unto Yeshua, the Master, Remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Yeshua said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour.
There was a what?
A darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour.
There was a darkness over all the earth. I wonder if an eclipse happened like that. I wonder if when the Son of Man was suspended in the air, if we had a solar eclipse. Go ahead, keep reading.
And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. And when Yahushua had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, unto thy hands I commit my spirit. And he having said thus, he gave up the ghost.
Gave it up. So we have Yahshua with his last breath, we talked about a little bit last night, giving up Torah on the cross, on the stake, on the tree. He gave a shout. He gave a Torah to let Jacob know what their sins. Now, verse 47, now when the centurion saw what was done, he glorified Elohim, saying, certainly this was a righteous man. Well, I would think so too. there was an eclipse, an earthquake, and the veil of the temple torn in half. So, anyway, that being said. All right, let's turn to John, Yochanan 10. In verse 25. Yochanan 10 and verse 25. And it reads, Yahshua answered them, I told you, ye believe not the works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me. But if ye believe not, because ye are not of my sheep. As I said unto you, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. I give unto them eternal life. They shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. My Father which gave them me is greater than all, and no man is able to pluck them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one. I and my Father are one. Look at the response. Then the Yehudim took up stones again to stone him, to kill him. Okay? So he's talking about his Father. But apparently there's a great relationship between the Father and the Son. And this relationship is so good, you yahoos, you just don't get it. I'm his son. He loved me. And I love him. We are one. Verse 32. Yahshua answered them, many good works have I showed you from my Father. For which of those works do you stone me? Yehudim answered him, saying, for a good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy. So it's not what you do, it's what you say. But shouldn't it be about what you do? Right? Actions speak louder than. You should know a tree by its fruits. But if your ticker ain't right, then your mind and understanding ain't right. And you're walking around, we talked about the other day, like as a city without walls. Ain't no ruach in you. Ain't nothing leading you. You go off your emotions. And because that thou being a man makest thyself Elohim. So you put yourself on a pedestal above us. You are Joseph, little boy. You a carpenter. You a son of a carpenter. You Joseph, little boy. No, y'all ain't got. No, y'all broke. Holy country, little boy. Yahshua answered them, is it not written in your Torah? I said, you are gods. If he called them gods into whom the word of God came, that the scripture cannot be broken. Say ye of him whom the Father has sanctified and sent into the world, thou blasphemest, because I said I am the Son of God. If I do not the works of my Father, believe me not. But if I do, though ye believe not me, believe the works, that ye may know and believe that the Father is in me and I in him. Therefore they sought again to take him, but he escaped out of their hand. Let's turn to Genesis 37. Because the secret's in the Torah. Genesis 37. Genesis 37. Genesis 37, verse 1. Hallelujah, if you're there. Genesis 37 and 1. And Yaakov, Jacob, dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. Now, we're all familiar with the Yaakov of Jacob, right? Okay. Up on your screen up here. Genesis or Bereshit 37 and 2. These are the generations of Yaakov. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. Feeding the flock with his brethren. Feeding the flock. Being still a lad, he with the sons of Bilhah, with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought evil report of them unto their father. So we have Joseph feeding the flock, shepherd. And we have Joseph bringing the what? Evil report unto who? The father. You know, we just read in John, but they had a big problem with Yahshua, with his relationship with the Father. And Yahshua was constantly saying snakes, vipers, hypocrites. It was almost as if he was reading off an evil report. It was being reported back to the Father. All right, we'll read together in 3. Now Yisrael loved Joseph more than all his children. Now Yisrael loved Joseph more than all his children. We just read where Yahshua said, I'm my father on one. Because he was the son of his old age. He made him a coat of many colors. When his brethren saw that the father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him. When all the brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and they could not speak peaceably unto him.
Wow.
And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. So Yahshua just went around talking in riddles and parables, and they hated him the more. He said unto them, Hear, I pray you, the dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheep arose and also stood upright, and behold, your sheep stood round about, and made obedience to my sheep. His brother said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us, reign over us, reign over us? So we have a son who takes evil report back to his father. The father loves this son more than any of the other children. He loves him more than any of the other children. And because of the relationship between this son and this father, the brethren hate him. And then when he was giving him, telling him the dream, there was, are you going to reign over us like a king? But he said it was written to me. Shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. I meant to show y'all that. Sorry. I just have to do it again. And his brethren said unto him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? I got to highlight it for you. They asked him, Are you going to Hamalak? Melech. So are you going to reign? And then I know for some of Hebrew students, when we see that tav right there, we know what tense it is. Future tense. So someone who is loved by the Father, hated by the brethren, in your Torah, in the text, will reign. He will reign. But see, there's secrets in this thing. He hid the matter. He said, hey, if you really want out, you got to go and you got to dig that thing out. So they asked him, and so are you going to have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. So words is the bar. Okay, sorry, Corey. Know me, I've been knocking this thing down the road. Kelly, she laughing now. She get home, she will be laughing. So Baal, Davarav, okay, for all the words, all these words, they hated him. Numbers are by Midbar 21:9. We have, and Moshe made a serpent of brass and set it upon the pole. And it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he looked unto the serpent of brass, he lived. Moses made a serpent of brass. Went too far. Y'all, everybody turn to Numbers 21. I'm getting excited. We get about to get to the meeting now. I'm getting excited about that. So Numbers 21. We got to start in 1 though. Start in 1. Numbers 21 and 1. And it reads, And when the king arrived, the Canaanite, which dwelt in the south, heard tell that Israel came by the way of the spies, then he fought against Israel and took some of them prisoners. And Israel vowed a vow unto the Lord and said, If thou wilt indeed deliver this people into my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities. And the Lord hearkened unto the voice of Israel, and delivered up the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities, and he called the name of the place Hormah. And they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to compass the land of Edom, and the soul of the people which was much discouraged because of the way. And the people spake against Elohim and against Moshe, wherefore have he brought us up out of Mitzrayim to die in the Midbar? For there is no bread, there is no bread, there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loathed this light bread. Our soul hates this bread. Verse 6, and Yahweh sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much of the people of Israel died. So they just had war. They made a vow to him, turned around and broke it. We don't do stuff like that. We be honest with ourselves. Feces hit the fan. I'll never. And once you kind of get through it, you're back to the way you were. Yep. Verse 6, the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much people of Israel died. Therefore the people came to Moses and said, we have sinned. You think? For we have spoken against Yahweh and against thee. Pray to the Lord that he take away the serpents from us. And Moshe prayed to the people. And Yah said unto Moshe, make thee a fiery serpent, and set it upon a pole. It shall come to pass that every one that is bitten, when he look upon it, shall live. And now on the screen, 21 and 9. And Moshe made a serpent of brass and set it upon the pole. Now, did Yah tell him to make the serpent brass? Was those the instructions? He just said, make thee a fiery serpent and set it upon a pole. So Moses made a serpent of brass and set it upon the pole, and it came to pass that if the serpent had bitten any man, when he looked into the serpent of brass, he lived. I've highlighted for you that the word serpent and brass, nakash, they're the same. So you see it highlighted. You have nafash, and then you have nafoshet. Okay, nafoshet. So brass. So the serpent of brass. Okay. So I wonder why in the world, what made him do that? Why did he do that? Why did he do that? Okay, we're going to come back to this. Let's go to John 6. John 6. Because remember, he had to put the serpent on the pole. Then look at it. John 6 and 29. John 6 and 29. And it reads, Yahshua answered and said unto them, this is the work of Elohim, that you believe on him whom he sent. They said unto him, what sign showest thou then, that we may see and believe thee? What doest thou work? Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as it is written. He gave them bread from heaven to eat. Then Yahshua said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, Moshe gave you not that bread from heaven. He gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father give you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he which cometh down. For the bread of God is he which cometh down from heaven, and giveth life unto the world. They said unto him, Master, evermore give us this bread. And Yahshua said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. Brother, give me Deuteronomy 8 and 3. Other brother, give me John 5, 39 and 246. And brother, let Yirmiyahu go first.
John 5.
39 through 46.
John 5, 39 to 46. Search the scriptures.
Do what?
Search the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
For in them ye think ye have eternal life, and they are they that which testify of me.
Which testify what?
Of me.
Mm.
And ye will not come to me, that ye might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that ye have not the love of Elohim in you. I am come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him him ye will receive.
Mm-hmm.
How can ye believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that cometh from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuseth you, even Moses, in whom ye trust.
Mm.
For had he believed Moses, ye would have believed me. But he wrote of me.
He did what?
He wrote of me.
He did what?
He wrote of me.
Mm.
But if ye believe not his writings, how shall ye believe my words?
Hallelujah.
Mm. Deuteronomy 8 and 3, bro.
And he humbled you, and let you suffer hunger, and fed you with manna which you did not know, nor did your fathers
He
know.
fed them with what?
Manna,
That they did not what?
which they did not know.
They did not what?
They did not know.
They did not know. Like the same way that when Yahshua was amongst them, they did not know. Go ahead.
To make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahweh.
Didn't he just say that I have bread
Yes.
that you will never hunger again? And if you're thirsty, I quench you. But it was written that Yah has a bread that's not like normal bread. Because it was already written. And then that bread was walking amongst them. You won't believe what they said. I'm good. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. So we turn back to Numbers 21. Back to Numbers 21. In verse 9, Moses made a serpent of brass and put it upon a pole, and it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he beheld the serpent of brass, he lived. So in order to survive this snake attack, if you got bit by a serpent, you had to look at this serpent on a pole, and it's brass. You had to so that you would live. Colossians 2, I got up there for you, which are a shadow of things to come, a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Mashiach. The body is of Mashiach. Brother, give me Genesis 3 and 1. And you give me 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8. Which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Mashiach. So the people needed healing. They had to look at a serpent. The serpent, had to be made of brass by Moses and put on a pole. So Malachi and the prophets, as it was written, Malachi 4:2-3, but unto you that fear my name, you fear my name, right? We're here together because we what? Fear his name.
Hallelujah.
Shall the Son of Righteousness arise with what? Healing in his wings.
Yeah.
And ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of a stall, and ye shall tread down the wicked. You shall tread down the wicked. For they shall be as ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord of hosts. So the Son of Righteousness has healing in his wings. So we're going to go back to this little scenario here where they're in the wilderness in the desert, and everybody getting snake bit. Why are people getting snake bit? Why did he make the serpent brass? Why does it got to be on the pole? Why does it got to be lifted up? Why do you got to look at it? Let me get what I tell you to get, brother. Genesis 3, and I told you second. Go ahead and give me 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8. Go ahead and give me that.
And then the lawless one shall be revealed, whom the master shall consume with the spirit of his mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and bring to naught with the manifestation of his coming.
Mm-hmm. The manifestation of his coming.
Yes.
Okay, so some of your versions might say the brightness of his coming. So in Malachi up here on the screen, someone is compared to the S-U-N. The S-U-N. And someone is being compared to the Son, is the Son of Righteousness. So an amazing light. and he can heal. The healing's in his wings. And he can fight. Now let me so we're going to look at the characteristics of this snake and brass. Go ahead, Genesis 3:1, brother.
Now the serpent was more subtle than all beasts of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made.
The serpent was what?
Subtle
More than any other beast
of the field.
that who made?
Yahuwah Elohim.
So Yah made and created the serpent, and the serpent is very sharp, smart, right? Talk Eve and Adam out they give. Smooth operator. Very smart, very sharp. Okay, so we can look at the snake and we can realize that and we have to kind of move our preconceived thoughts out the way for a minute, that the snake is extremely smart. Very, 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 very smart. Let me get Luke 11:31. Brother, let me get Revelation 1:15 and 2:18.
The sovereignness of the south shall rise up in the judgment with the men of this generation, and shall condemn them. For she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Shalom.
To hear the what?
She came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Shalom.
Uh-huh.
And look, a greater than Shalom is here.
A greater what?
A greater than Shalom is here.
So he just compared King Solomon and was referencing his what? Wisdom. And then Yahshua said what? That there is a greater one that's wiser than him here. So we have the serpent, which is very smart. We have Yahshua saying, hey, I know Solomon was a sharp sword now, but I'm sharper than him. Okay?
Revelation chapter 1, verse 15.
Uh-huh.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
His feet was like what?
Unto fine brass.
What did it look like?
Fine brass. As if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters.
Revelation 2:18.
Revelations 2, verse 18. And to the angel of the church in Thyatira, write, these things saith the Son of Elohim, who hath his eyes like unto a flame of fire, and his feet are like fine brass.
Feet like what?
Fine brass.
Feet like what?
Fine brass.
So Yahshua has been pretty clear. I'm smarter than Solomon. My wisdom exceeds Solomon. And he's described as being burnt brass. I know something is not to kind of prove it, but the point is, what color was the serpent again? Brass. And the serpent was put on a pole, and the serpent was lifted up. And if you looked at him, you would be healed.
Hallelujah.
John 12. John 12. Be in verse 19. John 12, verse 19, it reads, the Pharisees therefore said among themselves, perceive ye how ye prevail nothing? Behold, the world is gone after him. And there were certain Greeks among them that came up to worship at the feast. The same came therefore to Philip, which was on Bethesda of Galilee, and desired him, saying, Sir, we would to see Yahshua. Philip cometh and telleth Andrew, and again Andrew and Philip tell Yahshua, and Yahshua answered them, saying, in the hour is come that the Son of Man should be glorified. Verily, verily, I say unto you, if the corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone, but if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. And he that loveth his life shall lose it, and he that hateth his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. If any man serve me, let him follow me, and where I am, there also shall my servant be. And any man serve me, him will my Father honor. Now is my soul troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. before this cause came I into this hour. Father, glorify thy name. Then came there a voice from heaven saying, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. The people therefore that stood by and heard it said, it thundered. Others said, an angel spake unto him. Yahshua answered and said, this voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is the judgment of this world. Now should the prince of this world be cast out. And if I be lifted up, and if I be lifted up, and if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. So a part of Yahshua being lifted up is for the healing of the nations. Because a lot of people have been snake bitten. Genesis, brother, give me Genesis 3. Give me Genesis 3 and 15.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 15 reads, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel.
Bruise his what?
Heel.
So the snake can bite you. And it's supposed to be our job to stomp out the snake with our heel. But we get snake bitten. We need healing. And there's really only one person or king that can restore all of the earth. Because no one else has healing in their wings. No one else is like the S-U-N, the Chemesh, the sun. No one else fits that description. Luke 21 and 28. And it reads, when these things begin to come to pass, then look up. Lift up your heads. Why? For your redemption draweth nigh. Your redemption draweth nigh. So you have to look up. But you were taught that in Numbers. That in order to get healed from the snake bite, you have to look up. And the snake just happened to be a snake, which is the smartest creature Yah made. And then Moses decided to make it in brass. And then you have someone who has healing in their wings, whose feet is like fine burnt brass. James 4 and 12, I have to turn there, but he is the lawgiver. He saves, he's also can destroy. So we see this repetitive cycle of rejection of the king. There's a repetitive cycle. And he's always been in the midst. Matthew 24 and 30. We have to look up, our redemption draws nigh. Then Matthew 24 and 30, we have to look up, because then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in the Shemayim. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. Which is not going to be pretty. Remember, there was a crown on his head, a title above his head, a crown on his head, a title above his head, and he was suspended in the air. And everybody was looking at him. It was written in every language. We're still talking about it today. That's the impact. We're still talking about it today. And he was lifted up like the serpent on the pole, so that people could get healed. But at his return, as you see in verse 3, and you shall tread down the wicked. Well, we just saw where it says right here that all the tribes of the earth shall mourn. There's a repetitive cycle with Yahshua. People don't want what Yah has to give. What was the whole reason for them and all the snake incident? They said, we hate the bread. We hate this bread. And then the bread, the real manna, came down from heaven. You won't believe it. We hate it. It was 4:12. James 4:12. So the living bread comes. They don't want that either. They hated it. The brethren hated it, like the way they hated Joseph, because of the relationship between him and the father. And then Joseph, something happened, right? He was sold into slavery. He goes down to Mitzrayim. Somebody else had to go to Mitzrayim too. And then Joseph was put into a cell or a prison or a hole, and he could only came out when the king or the father, no, what is father, but when the authority said, bring him out. Put a robe on him, put the ring on him. He has all power and authority. He has more power than anybody in this country other than me. You don't believe what Yahshua said? He said, look, man, ain't nobody greater than my father. I got all dominion. Hey, I'll never tie my father now. Had to bring him up to be exalted at the due time. 1 Samuel 8. 1 Samuel 8. Samuel 8 and 1, and it reads, and after this it came to pass after that day. I'm sorry, I'm saying my bad. Y'all stay in 1 Samuel. Let me catch up with y'all. 1 Samuel 8 and 1, and it came to pass when Samuel was old that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of the second Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba. And his sons walked not in the ways, but turned aside after lucre and took bribes and perverted judgment. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Shmuel at Ramah and said unto him, behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us. Make us a king to judge us like all the nations. This thing displeased Samuel. But they said, give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And Yahuwah said unto Samuel, hearken to the voice of the people, and all that they say unto thee, for they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not malak over them. That I will not malak over them. So we get back to our Proverbs 25 and 2, of the thing that is hidden, but the bar that was hidden. And that thing that was hidden is the same thing people hate. They hate that thing. I think there's a scripture of manna that's called, what is it? We read in Numbers 21 and 6 or so. We hate it. We hate this bread. And in John, we don't want your bread. We reject it. We have in 1 Samuel, Yahuwah told the prophet, they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting me, that I shall not malak, reign over them. So we find this repetitive, and it begins in your Torah. That there was something about the debar, or the word. John 1 and 1. John 1 and 1.
John 1, chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim.
So the bar, okay, keep going.
The same was in the beginning with Elohim. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended not.
Hmm.
There was a man sent from Elohim, whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all men through him might believe.
Mm-hmm.
He was not that light,
Mm.
but was sent to bear witness to that light.
Mm-hmm.
That was the true light, which
Mhm.
lighteth every man that cometh unto the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not.
Knew him what?
Not.
Mm.
Keep going.
Yes. A few more.
He came unto his own, and his own received him not.
He came to his who?
His own,
And they received him what?
not.
They received him not. Sounds familiar, don't it? We hate him. He dreams. You're gonna reign over. You're gonna have dominion over us. Go ahead, keep going. We'll stop at 14.
But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of Elohim,
Mm-hmm.
even to them that believeth on his name,
Mm.
which were born not of blood,
Mm-hmm.
nor of the will of the flesh,
Mm.
nor the will of man, but of Elohim. And the Word was made flesh,
And the
dwelt.
what?
The Word was made flesh.
So what
The Word,
was made?
flesh,
Mm.
and dwelt among
And
us.
did what?
And dwelt among us.
Mm.
And we beheld his glory, and the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth.
Stop right there. So the word, or the the word, or the bar, the bar, and the bar was what? It was a concealed thing. The bar is something that the righteous have to search it out.
Yeah.
And the bar, the concealed thing, was hidden in the word.
Mm-hmm.
He just read John 1 through 14. You know what the word became? Flesh, and dwelt among us. So that thing that was, but he said whatever things that are not, I can mess it up. Give me Luke 11 again right quick. Luke 11 and I think it's 12, brother. So I feel like I'm about to start freestyling. Don't look it up. 12 and 2. Nope. Man, me on camera freestyle. Because I got a beat.
11, 12.
12 and 2, my fault. 12 and 2.
And whatever is concealed shall be revealed.
It shall be what?
Whatever is concealed shall be revealed.
So whatever is concealed, that thing that is concealed will be revealed. And that word became flesh. That the bar became, and that the bar was hidden in your Torah. And it actually became flesh and dwelt among men.
Mm-hmm.
And that same, the bar, that same thing was rejected. Don't want you to be our king. I don't like your taste. Yeah, I know you give me everlasting life. I don't want it. But it was in your word. First Thessalonians 4. No, I know what I forgot. He read. Let's go ahead and turn to. Let's go ahead and turn to Genesis 1 and 1. Thinking, and when he read John that first chapter, it said that the Word created. Is that right? John 1. Did it say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything is ready for you by him.
Okay. Nothing was made by him. Life was in him. So in John 1 and 1, we have in the beginning, God created. As we've talked about over and over, when we see God, or really Elohim, what does that mean? It didn't say Yahuwah, it didn't say Yahshua, it just said Elohim. So the writer is telling you that someone from that other side we're not privy to, right? The other side, one of them was a creator. It was just hidden. We don't know who. So we'll just say Elohim. A Elohim created. one of them from over there. It didn't say El Elyon. It didn't say Most High Elohim. It didn't say Yahuwah. It didn't say Yah. It just said a Elohim created in the beginning. We have John 1:1 telling us, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by Him. Let's turn to Colossians. Colossians. First of all, I know, right? I almost said it again. Maybe there's a hidden Colossians out there. Maybe it'll be revealed. Colossians 1. Brother, go ahead and give me, Jeremy, give me Colossians 1 and start in verse 14.
Colossians 1:14, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sin, who is the image of the invisible Elohim.
Who's the what?
The image of the invisible Elohim.
The what Elohim?
The invisible Elohim. The firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created.
Say what now?
For by him all things created.
Keep going.
That were in heaven and that were in earth. Visible and invisible. Whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him.
How many things?
All things.
Go ahead, 17.
And he is before all things, and by him all things consist.
Thank you, Lord. So, mess up your mind right there, don't you? When we have to throw stuff in our preconceived thoughts. Elohim just means one of them. If I'm specific, I use the Tetragrammaton if I'm the writer. Or I'll say, if I'm talking about the highest of the Elohim, I'll say El Elyon. I'll say El Elyon. All the writer said was a Elohim did. That's all I know. And then we have Colossians and we have Yochanan saying the Word created. And that same word has been hidden. It's also been rejected. Because that thing, that manna thing, that bread thing, is also a king. It's also your lawgiver. But he was concealed. Shaul in 1 Corinthians 10 says, hey, that rock was Christ that led them. The spiritual drink they drank, that was
That rock, Christ.
that was him. But he was hidden. Now 1 Thessalonians. Got something. 1 Thessalonians 4. Some of these I ain't got to go through. Y'all made me do it last. Y'all threw me on the spot last night. Come on now, give us something. Like, look, I just came to eat and chill. I think this is decent. Kick back. Hang out in my seat. 1 Thessalonians 4:16 it reads, for the master himself shall descend from heaven. He'll descend from heaven. What were they mocking him on the cross, on the stake again?
Come down.
If
You are
the what?
son.
And if you're also the
King.
king, come down. If you are who you say you are, if you are the kings on your tombstone, then come down. Oh, I will. I'll be down there. For Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, with the trump of Elohim, and the dead shall in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. I didn't have time to do this today. We've talked about it before for those that are kind of regular, that the being caught is an example of how in ancient times when the king was coming to the city, like when David's going back. David, the king is coming back, and all the people of the city, they're running out to the king to escort the king to his throne. So in ancient times, when the king is coming, there is an escort group. So he's got some people with him, And then everybody else like, oh, the king is here. And they go out to the king and they greet the king and they bless the king and they escort the king back. But this king is hidden and he's different. And all we know is about the thing or the bar that it was in the beginning. And that he can't be no human. Because in the beginning, all this starts in the Shamayim, in the expansion. So he had to be up on a pole. There had to be a serpent up on a pole to make you look up. Because your redemption will draw nigh. They're at the bottom of a mountain doing what? Looking up. So in verse 17, if you go to the Greek, it will explain how you go and you meet him and you escort him back. So, Matthew 24, 45, 47, got up here for you. Who then is a faithful and wise servant whom his Lord may rule over his household to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant,
Yes.
whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find doing. Verily I say unto you that he shall make him a ruler over all his goods. So when the king returns to claim what is rightfully his, the king has been hidden in your Torah, within the scrolls, in the text, the king of the Lion of Yehuda. When he returns, where will we be? We'll be found being that faithful servant. I would assume that you would be where the people are gathering on the Yom Teruah. Because we're supposed to be shouting and making a lot of noise, and we don't really know why. But because I have a relationship with him, and the Ruach is within me, because the one who had to go for the Ruach to come says, I'm in the Father, and the Father's in me, and that you're in my hands, and no one can take you from Yahshua, no one take it from my hands, and no one sure can take it out from my Father's hand. None's greater than him. So I put something within you, so that when I come back, we can identify. Because I won't come back the way I left. I will be oh so mighty when I come back, and I have to reclaim that which is mine. When kings come and take dominion, it's not peaceful, is it? Got all kinds of Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan come and invade a country. Let me get what you got. You know what? I ain't give you a chance to answer. I'm a kid. Shaka Zulu. And you got all kind of kings. You take it by the kingdom is taken by force. So when he comes back, he gonna be how he is. But will we be? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Because the king is hidden within the text. But the book said that whatever thing that is concealed will be revealed. It's hidden for a good reason. It's hidden for you. Hidden for you. So that you can be one or abide with him if you so choose. Because it's a choice. That's why you have to have the Ruach in you. So we can understand Yah's big picture. All praise to Yah. Read Psalms 24, 1 through 10 on your own. That's some homework. All praise to Yah for the word, for the inspiration. All praise to Yah for the Moedim, for the festivals. Just commanding us to celebrate. Preparing us for something that's over our head. But He good enough to, hey, y'all start practicing now. When it happened, it's like one of them things somebody say, oh, don't worry. Like some of them movies, or action movies. Well, how do I know when to go? Oh, you'll see the sign. You'll know. You'll see the sign. So he wants us practicing and rehearsing. And to begin this 7th month, as something, as a part of time is coming to an end, and a new part of time is about to begin, within the same cycle, he wants us to be ready and to be commemorating and shouting joyfully for some reason. And the people, the sons and daughters of Yah, they'll just find themselves doing it. But a lot of other people won't. And I wonder when the book says all of the tribes of the earth, they mourn when he comes. Because they're not ready. Flat out not ready. So that being said, peace to everybody that's here, all those that may be watching. Shalom. Enjoy your feast. If you already kept the feast, shalom, good. Enjoy your atonement and Sukkot. We'll do the same. That being said, shalom.
Shalom.
Okay. So I forgot to do all that.